sit back in your seats, get something to eat, and watch this movie. Don't let the kiddies see it, because, well, we'll let you hear the beginning first. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Left of the Projector. I'm your host, Evan, back again with another film discussion from the left. This week on the show, we are discussing the 2001 film, The Fast and the Furious, the first in the now 10-part plus spin-off in the Furious universe, the Fast cinematic universe. And with me to discuss, I have back on the show the co-host of Cars and Comrades, Zach, Connor, Brandon, and Bryant. Thank you all for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having us back.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Hey, thanks for inviting us.
For anyone who doesn't know, the last time we did Smokey and the Bandit, and I think initially we had talked about doing some part of this series, and so it seemed right to go from just the first film. I think there's plenty to talk about in the first film. I'm wondering, as you know, purely as car people, before we talk about the film, what was your favorite car from the film, if you have one?
As a car person, I have to be like, well, what do you mean favorite? One that I would daily drive, or one that I would want, or the one that I think is the most valuable? Like, I don't know. There's so many answers to that question in this
It's
movie.
a tough one.
The Supra's iconic. The Supra that they rebuild, 2JZ, no shit. I mean, it's fucking iconic.
Just why does everything from that era have to have Dixie Cup decals on it?
Yeah, they had some pretty bad graphics on these cars.
They're over the top, but I think it's awful taste but great execution.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually pretty fair. I will say Fast and Furious 1 was like the era where people did put like the worst kind of underglow on their cars.
Yes.
And it like really went out of style. It became really cringy. But in the last like 5 years, underglow has made a real comeback, and I am for it. I love it. I'm like, yes, we never should have gotten rid of underglow. It is always cool.
with the one exception being,
I hated underglow so much for so long, and I don't know what happened, but I'm about it now. I want to put underglow on my vans.
I mean, I think, LEDs got cheap enough that you didn't have to deal with actual like glass neon tubes. So like it just makes it a lot easier to put that on your car.
Yeah.
Did this film like kickstart more of a interest in like building cars? I ask this purely because I don't know the answer.
Yeah. I mean, I think this was, so there was a lot, like a big import, street racing scene and like sanctioned drag event kind of scene around this time. Like, I forget what they called it in the movie, but the real version is called Nopi, which was, like mostly like they did, import drag racing. That was a big thing around the same time. But this like movie definitely did, make it more of a thing for sure.
My guess would be they made this movie because it was a thing that was popular, and then the movie amplified the popularity.
Makes sense.
Yeah, because there was decades of car culture in the United States, right? So this was just a new form of it.
Yeah, it's one link on the Ouroboros, however you say that word.
Snake you need in some mass.
Of movies like car culture movies influencing car culture and car culture influencing car culture movies. I would say
it's the Fast and the Furious movies that made me want to convert my Pontiac Fiero into a spaceship.
That's not in this movie, though. That's later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all things in time.
We'll get there.
Well, I feel like none of us has really gotten into what cars we actually like from the film. I'm going to go ahead and say I am a big fan of Letty's maroon S14 240SX. I think that is one of the coolest. Not surprising because I'm a drift guy. So like I like drifting. That's an iconic drift car, which does zero drifting in this film. It is actually kind of shocking.
Had we discovered drifting as a culture yet when this movie came out?
No, that was Tokyo Drift in 2003. And that's basically when drifting in the United States really did start. There was there was a little bit before that, but not a whole lot.
That was like really when the grassroots scene like took off, right? Like there was a grassroots scene before that, obviously, but that's kind of the same time period when it really started to get going. If I'm correct, but yeah, you would obviously be the expert there. I do want to say, out of like the what do they call themselves? The team. I thought that I can't even remember his name. Like the least important member of the team, Leon, has the
it's Leon.
Objectively the coolest car. It's a Japanese import, so it's right-hand drive R33 Skyline GTR. It's sickest car there. Sickest car. I mean, the RX-7 that Dom's drives is like maybe on the same level, but out of like the team's cars, dude, I don't know. It's the sickest
cool.
to me.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it is actually...
I mean, it
is a Skyline. I don't think it was a GTR, though. I think it was just a Skyline. I think so.
No, it says Nissan Skyline GTR, and then it says BCN R33, whatever that means. I don't know squat. It says it's known as Big Bird.
Well, I'll take their word for it.
I'm gonna be honest. This movie embarrasses me as a car guy because the whole movie I'm just googling what the fuck any of these cars are.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like none of these are Chevelles.
Hey, you should
not a van on screen anywhere.
You should at least recognize the Charger.
Well, yeah, fucking obviously. Like but I like it feels like a cop out to say that's my favorite, considering it's my only fucking choice. And also, I'm not even a Mopar guy. If I'm being true to the movie, I liked the one dude's Jetta just because it was so fucking ugly that I found it endearing.
Hell yeah. I like that. I like that take.
I'm like, that's the weirdest shaped box it can be without being a van.
It is pretty weird. It's like if a kindergartner drew a car, they draw that.
What's funny is, isn't the guy who owned that car also the one who was like designing and seemed like the most competent when it came to like building it? It's like he couldn't even build his own car though.
And he had so much faith. He's like, yes, I'm going to win this race against this person with an S2000 that has a lot of work. And it's like, hey, my man. No, you're not.
Okay. I agree with you, but hear me out. That was a weirdly accurate depiction of someone with autism.
It really was. Like, yeah.
Like, especially when you think about like that, like the offshoot where there's a lot of people who like kind of feel like there's an overlap, if not like I know people who have explained to me that within like 10 years, they're going to say ADD is just on the spectrum. Yeah. And if you look at it from that perspective, I'm like, oh, this dude is that.
Yeah.
So him just like when he like panicked and just like glitched out and drove away, I'm like, yeah, that matches his character. That somehow psychologically it matches his profile like in reality.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that this movie did really well, that they made believable characters, like in believable situations too. Like obviously ignoring the Pontiac Fiero in space, which comes, 9 sequels later, but like ignoring that, this movie is like actually pretty grounded and like it kind of makes you care about these people a little bit, like in a good way. Like it does a good job of being a movie, if you just take it at face value, it's like, it's not bad. It just like,
I mean,
I don't know, being a cool little action.
The dialogue is kind of cheesy. I mean, I feel.
Oh yeah. It's over the top.
I feel like a lot.
Oh yeah.
But the late 90s and early 2000s were just really cheesy.
They were very cheesy times.
That's true. Admittedly, I feel like as many as I've watched this movie, however many dozens of times, I have always taken it at face value, but this time I actually did take notes and like pay attention. And I actually started to feel like I actually don't care about characters. I dislike all of them. Yeah, it's funny because I just started realizing, I'm like, I don't know why any of them are friends. God, what are they offering here? This is just dog shit. So I found a new perspective this time around watching it, and we'll go through it in some of the scenes. But Dominic Toretto in this film, he is the embodiment of a capitalist pig exploiting people pretending to be their friends for money. I was just like, damn. And Brian's just like, yeah, I want to be your friend. We're family. And he's like, I own you. You're going to make money for me.
If I can offer a different perspective on that, and
Sure.
I'm going to preface this with the very first note that I took because it's tangentially related, but I do want to make mention of it. When they're robbing the truck, so they shoot the harpoon gun to rip the windshield out, right? The second harpoon gun is just for a safety harness. This is an OSHA-approved truck robbery. Like, literally, they just, like, carabiner in and strap in so that when they jump, they don't fall. They're not taking chances. This is a mature operation that they're running here. I'm going to go out and say that, like, you know, Dom does make the comment when Paul Walker just starts kind of working for him. He's just like, you work for me now. You got to start making me money. I didn't, as much as I think that I'm giving it a generous interpretation, I didn't read that as overtly capitalist. I read that as more playful, like we were close now. Because one of the notes that I made was, it's weirdly easy for adult men to make friends in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it really
They
is.
didn't even have a podcast.
No,
or
I
anything.
think to your point, though, I think
Okay, fair enough. If someone picks you up while you're running from the cops, you're probably gonna be pals. You already have a mutual interest in fuck the police. But I would cite another scene. The first time he meets Hector, Hector's like, "Oh, I'm going legit. I'm racing," and is just pals with the guy immediately. And he's like, but like, he's got that like friendliness that's genuine, and it's not like he's not being friendly in that weird macho intimidating way. It's literally just like, hey, I like cars, you want to be buddies? And he's just
Hector
nice
is
for the rest of the movie. Anytime
I think
Hector's on
Hector is
screen,
the-
he's just being a dude.
Yeah.
He is, I think, the most likable character in the film.
Hector is great. And I
Yeah.
will say, to your point, like the way that Dom sees Brian Spillner, his undercover character, is like a young guy that's trying to break into the racing scene. And like he wants to win the race, but he wants the respect more. So like to his credit, like he's kind of bringing him under his wing. I mean, like, hey, you're in with my crew now. You're in with my crowd. Like, I accept you and I run this shit. So like, I mean,
It's also an argument for democracy because everyone else in the crew was right about Paul Walker
That
being
is
a
true.
cop, and Dom just would not
That is
listen to
true.
them.
It's because he was sexually
fair,
attracted
no,
to
I
Paul
think it was-
Walker.
That is also fair.
There was only one person who was convinced he was a cop, and it was the worst character in the film, and that is Vince.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Well, like, Vince was dealing with some of his own latent issues, I think.
Oh yeah,
It,
for sure.
As we discussed previously, I feel like it really warrants mentioning the whole thing where, you know, they're in the kitchen and Vince is just like, you're a pansy because you're washing the dishes. And this is a criticism the man makes while wearing a fishnet tank top.
He also tells Brian's character, or Paul Walker's character, Brian, that he's going to send him out on the street, like to work as a prostitute, and then calls him pretty. And it's like, dude, you're obviously thinking about sex with this man. Like, it's fine, but you are.
And the F slur.
Yeah, and he drops the F slur
In, like,
early
the
in the
opening
movie.
scene.
Yep. They're at the whatever it is where Brian gets his tuna no crust. And yeah.
Which do we really revisit the fact that apparently they run a restaurant?
Yeah, that never comes up
Yeah.
again. Like ever.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
it
no.
does. It comes up one other time when he's explaining, I
Oh,
know
yeah.
you don't have money for all these cars, doing tune-up
Yeah.
and selling groceries. What the fuck else are you doing?
That is also weird. He doesn't even say that of like, you know, selling sandwiches or whatever. He says selling groceries, which like, I don't know. Is it a restaurant that just like has a deli or?
It's a
Got like a
cafe with
euphemism,
convenience
right? Like,
store.
groceries. I don't know, like drugs or
Okay,
something
yeah,
maybe.
I don't know.
No, it's literally it's a little convenience store with a
Okay.
cafe in it,
Okay.
and they sell sandwiches.
Whom
Like
apparently they will beat your
Yeah.
ass if you're a repeat customer.
yes, well, so yeah, actually, it's funny. I did take some notes on like the whole kind of scene here. So like basically, we're introduced to like the crew doing a truck robbery. We don't know who they are, but they're kind of just masked people doing this truck robbery. So they hijack a truck, and they are using like these cool little black Honda Civics to do it.
Yeah, nothing
And
says
then there's some cool
discretion
driving.
And
like
still having the
underfoot.
license plates on them.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It is an interesting. I have some notes on their criminal enterprise for sure. But basically, when we kind of start out, we see that first scene, then we get into where Brian shows up to the cafe. So he actually shows up to Dominic Toretto's cafe, and it's established that he's essentially there and has been there every day for 3 weeks, essentially just to talk to Dom Toretto's sister, Mia, who is a very attractive woman. And clearly that's why he's there. So, and they're making jokes, he's like, I think I'll have, he's like, how's the tuna? And she's like, it's shitty. It was shitty the day before and the day before that, and it's shitty today. And he's like, well, I'll have the tuna sandwich, no crust, which to me, I was like, man, I don't think I would ever ask for that in a restaurant. I feel like I would take it off myself if I was there. I would not be able to ask
especially,
for no
I admired him for being able to be 6 years old.
Especially to a woman that apparently you're like trying to woo in some way. Like, hello, I would like a sandwich. Also, I'm a child.
Can I also have
Could I also get a Ziploc bag full of Cheerios, please?
and a juice box, please?
Well, anyway, so he orders a sandwich, and that's when Dominic's friends show up, and that's the team that we're referring to. So they show up, they pull up with all their very cool cars with all their really
very cool cars,
disgusting
plus a
graphics
Jetta
on the
and a
side.
Yeah, I was going to say, Leon's car is a Nissan Maxima 4-door sedan. That thing's not cool. The GTI or like the Jetta, whatever it is like kind of cool in a quirky way. But yeah, the Maxima, Leon has the worst car of the crew. Yeah.
There was a time where Maximas were cool, but that's a whole other conversation that I don't want to get into.
That's true.
One of the lines I wrote down, I think it was Leon that says, what is he, sandwich crazy?
Yeah.
I just thought that was a great line.
Yeah. Well, and this is, they're all talking basically because this is when we're introduced to Vince, who I think is, the least likable character in the film, but also the one most questioning his sexuality. And Vince also apparently likes Mia, and he's upset that Brian is there ordering sandwiches all the time. So he's going to be a tough guy and run him off. And this is when Leon goes, yeah, what is he, sandwich crazy? He's here all the time. It's clearly he's hitting on this girl. So this is when Vince is like, I'm going to go beat him up. So he does that. He chases him out, says, hey, go get a burger somewhere, calls him the F slur, and then assaults him while his back is turned. Real piece of shit. So they start fighting, and, they're fighting. And then all the friends are going, hey, Dom, go break it up, man. Come on, go break it up. And it's like, yeah, that's right. Your friend starts a lot of fights he can't finish, huh? So, so Dominic Toretto comes out, breaks it up, and he goes, okay. He yells at Vince, and he's like, you're embarrassing me. He then turns to Brian and says, don't come around here no more. And he basically blames him.
And also, I'm getting you fired.
And this is where I'm like, oh, I actually don't like Dominic Toretto at all. And so I'm like thinking about this. I'm like, yeah, he tried to get him fired from his fucking job. After he's a repeat customer. He's like, hey, clearly this place is not getting a lot of business, by the way. There's no other customers in there, just to be clear. He kicks out the only customer who's consistently been there. And then says, you know what? That's not enough. I'm going to call your boss and rat you out and get you fired, which he then does do. So he calls the boss. The next scene is Brian going to work and his boss gets off the phone. Oh, yeah, thanks a lot, Dom. And he's like, oh, he wanted me to fire you, but I didn't. I told him it was, he says, good help is hard to find. And it's like, what an asshole. And so I can't help but wonder who wants.
And he obviously only doesn't fire him. He obviously only does not fire Brian because the police are involved with this.
Oh, that's made explicit. They did say that openly.
Yeah, but
later on.
The police are keeping him employed there. That's the only reason he still has his job.
Well, and Harry is under the guy who's his boss. He seems to also be under surveillance in some way, or did they?
Well, he was being charged with receiving stolen goods.
Right. Okay. So there you go.
So yeah,
so
again,
fire him.
I feel like as this introduction to Dom, I was like, you're just going to try and get a worker fired from their job. I'm like, fuck this guy. I wrote him off.
What a fucking Karen.
Yeah, exactly.
What was I going to say? I had a note that I wrote down there. Like it's no, I lost it. But yeah, like all that they're setting up is that like Dom is the leader in every sense of and everyone has to just do what he says no matter what. What he says goes, like everyone has to just do what he says. And so I think that's just, they're like doubling down on that.
Yeah, this is to me where they're setting up his identity as an exploiter of the working class. And I was like, man, fuck this guy. More than I used to think he was a young, enterprising criminal who I wanted to support. Yeah. But his exploitation of people really did turn me off when I started to examine it.
Yeah, that's true.
You've opened my eyes. I have made that same journey just now. I did. I did see him as an enterprising criminal. And no, you're right.
Yeah, you're like, I want to root for the criminals. Of course, we're all on the criminal side. Fuck the police.
Right.
But this guy is exploiting other people and getting working people fired for his stupid ass friends who start fights.
Yeah, that's true. That's like,
so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna run a criminal enterprise, don't have dumbasses like Vince that are gonna start fights and that you have to bail out of.
I saw on IMDb, it said that the fight scene originally was scripted and then they ended up not liking it and then it was completely improv. So I wonder if like even the lines, it doesn't say if the lines were improv. Maybe that was all still scripted. So I wonder if...
So that actor was just organically throwing out F-words.
Yeah, he was just naturally homophobic. Just like in everyday life.
Yeah, it does... Watching that today, it does hit hard. You're like, wow, okay, yeah, that was a wow.
Yeah, that's what's funny about it though, is because like when this movie came out, that didn't hit at all.
Yeah,
that was the same as calling just like, shut up, dummy.
Yeah, yeah, I would compare it to maybe like dickhead or like asshole or something. Like, I mean, it's like it was considered a swear, but like not like anything special.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say like I think immediately the next scene is now the street race where he comes back where Paul Walker then puts up his car to like get in with the group, right?
Okay. Did anyone else notice? And Evan, this is not just a car guy thing. Anyone could notice this. Just someone else. Please tell me you saw the very first car that pulls into the lot is dragging a hose on the ground.
Yes.
Yeah, Paul Walker's
I didn't notice that either.
Eclipse has like something.
I didn't even realize that was him. I was just like, why the fuck would you? It doesn't take a car guy to realize that parts are not supposed to be hanging off of the undercarriage.
Yeah, it's I did.
Okay, but you know what?
That.
As a car podcast full of cars in which they all have their problems that we drive on anyway.
Yeah,
it tracks.
Yeah, maybe that's why he had danger to manifolds.
Yeah,
actually,
maybe that's why his floorboards came out.
Yeah, maybe that's why his floorboard came out when he had danger to manifold.
You know, actually, I think part of that too, I want to go back because there was a scene that we missed. Like the introduction we get for Brian's character is him drag racing by himself during the day, his Eclipse.
He's how to drive.
He's testing it out. But yeah, he's like, he gets all mad because it topped out at 140 miles per hour.
Yeah.
But like, he hits 140 and then spins out, almost hitting the guardrail. And I'm like, bro, you should not be racing if you can't keep the car straight. What the hell's the matter with you?
Yeah, that's the thing. He's in a straight line. He's not taking a corner at 140. He's just in a straight line. Keep it straight, dummy.
And it's a front-wheel drive car. Like this is
no, it's an all-wheel drive.
No,
that thing is a GSX.
Is it?
Yes,
I saw all-wheel drive.
Yes, it's a GSX.
I seem to remember it doing a front-wheel drive burnout at some point.
It did at one point.
So maybe
did it really?
Maybe it broke all four wheels free.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was. I thought I saw an all-wheel drive at one point.
I'm looking it up now to see if it says.
I think the old DSMs were all-wheel drive. I think by that era, the Eclipse I thought was only front-wheel.
No,
I could be wrong.
You can get all-wheel drive in that era. It's specifically the GSX.
That was a third gen, wasn't
trim.
It? His was a third gen?
No, it's a second. It's like a 99, like a 99 Eclipse. Second gen, definitely still had the...
It says it's a 95 Eclipse.
Or 95.
Yeah.
99 would be the latest. It doesn't say
it's all-wheel drive.
But yeah, second gen after the original,
I mean,
square kind of pointy front end ones.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure like in the world of the movie, it was all-wheel drive, but they probably used a front-wheel drive car for at least some of the scenes in the movie.
Yeah,
I would say,
probably.
yeah, in the world
any case-
in the world of the movie, it is mentioned that it's an $80,000 car. So I would assume that they've at least got, the best package that you could get as far as performance goes from that base model car.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but they also had like $25,000 worth of NAS.
That's true. Also, weird that in his first race he has to put up the car. Is that like, did he choose to do that? He got 80.
I think he was choosing
Didn't
to do
have
that.
cash,
Yeah.
right?
Right, yeah, because he's like, I don't have cash, but what I do have is the pink slip to my car. It's like, how do you not have cash, bro? You could definitely have
Yeah, why
cash.
didn't the
don't-
cops give him $2,000?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
They gave him like a $40,000 car.
yeah.
Also, why does everyone in this movie just have a roll of $2,000 in their pocket at all times?
Yeah, that's always the bet, and every time they have that exact amount. It's just the agreed upon minimum bet for drag racing is $2K. That's
I feel like economic conditions back then were a little bit different. Like, I feel like rent was lower. Everything was cheaper.
Yeah.
Wages were a little bit better.
$2,000 was a lot of fucking money.
It was. Don't get me wrong. It was a lot. I'm just saying today that's way less thinkable than it ever was. I think it's crazy that people ever raced for pink slips.
yeah,
That's ludicrous. It would never cross my mind to, yes, let me bet my car. Excuse me, I got to go to work tomorrow. So, no, I'm going to keep that. But I'll put up
think
money.
there was
maybe.
yeah. I'll put up a couple $100 if I really think I'm.
My cars were never fast enough to put up any amount of
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, I was gonna say my vans are slow as shit.
Well, you just have to find cars that are slower than shit and race
Hard to
them.
do.
I'll roll up to a guy on a bicycle that doesn't look like he's in shape.
There you go. No, on the topic of money, I was gonna say at one point, like before this initial drag race, Brian shows everyone what's under his hood, and they go through it all, and they make some vaguely car sounding words,
Yes.
and then Dom goes, "Not a bad way to spend 10 grand," and it's like, what? 10 grand? No way. That's like 50 grand. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I was like, dude, where are you shopping? I would like to
Hot
go
products.
there.
He's buying them from Harry, stolen.
Yeah, I guess.
You know what? Actually, I would like to mention the fact that I wish speed shops were
Yeah.
still a fucking thing.
Yeah.
Me too.
You find
Yeah,
them here
for
and there, but you do not get a superstore where you get to go in and buy a whole nitrous system for your car. That's the internet replaced that, and that is a tragedy.
Yeah, agreed.
There, we can claw out some like commentary on like what the internet has done to like any number of different types of culture, and in this case, car culture, because there are no car like you wouldn't call it like a third space or whatever, but like
It almost was though, because those were the guys that like you could go in and be like, "Hey man, I have a insert car here, whatever it is, and I want to put nitrous on it." Those guys could definitely help you spec out a system that would work for your car, that would be relatively easy to install, that wouldn't, blow your motor. And like that was just the kind of person that you could just walk in, be like, "This is what I want," and they could help you out, and boom, you're done. Like, that was a great thing to have. Now you have to go on a forum and like find the parts online and like check for deals and all this shit. See who has the fucking 20% off coupon. God damn it.
I did find it funny when they were looking at like Brian's car in the parking lot right before the drag race, and like one of the guys there, he's got, oh man, he's got enough nitrous in there to blow himself up. And I'm like, how the fuck would you know that?
yes,
How the
that's
fuck
not
would
where you
know
keep
that?
the tank at.
Yeah.
You not only do you not keep the tank there, you have no idea how much it's fucking spraying. None. Is it a 100 shot? Is it a 500
You
shot?
can't see the nozzle. He could have a fucking 10 shot in there. He just has a lot of like capacity. It's not the same thing.
They needed to like allude to the fact that like maybe is he gonna like blow himself up in the middle of this
Yeah.
first race and like
Yeah.
like I don't know.
He's
Obviously
definitely
not.
going to, yeah.
And then I love
I mean, not that.
I'm sorry I'm getting a little ahead, but at the end of the race, when Dom's like, "Now me and the mad genius gotta tear down the block and replace the piston rings you fried."
Yeah.
Okay, let's accept that. Let's accept that. He knows that the piston rings are fried. After that, we see that same car running from the police,
Driving around.
driving to pick
Yes.
up Dom. If the piston rings are fried, it's not fucking moving. anywhere.
Well,
It was blowing smoke and
Yeah,
shit
like-
at the end of the race. And then he's like just driving it away. And I was like, all right, we're just going to go right past that,
yeah.
huh? They're superheroes.
I have actively driven a vehicle that once I did tear down the motor had 3 broken rings.
How'd it drive?
But
You
I mean,
can
like
live
you
without
could
rings.
hear that it had 3 broken rings. Like it was not.
But he wasn't just like driving around. He was then racing
Yeah.
from the cops.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, he knew he didn't have to go that hard to get away from the cops because they're his pals.
That's
also
that's
true.
a
You know,
good point.
That's also true, yeah.
Also, while Dominic is running from the cops, the cop yells over the PA, "Hey, Toretto, stop!" Like he knows this guy by sight, but he
Yeah.
doesn't like,
Yeah.
But from like
Yeah.
50 feet away,
but he
too.
doesn't like.
He doesn't know where he lives. Like, you can't just...
He can't just go to
Go
the
serve a
store that
warrant
has
at
his
his
name
house.
above it.
Yeah, what the hell? Like, I'm pretty sure this guy's pretty easy to track down.
I do think so. This is kind of where we get into the big drag race, and I feel like it's fair to call it the big drag race because it is the longest drag race in
Yeah.
cinematic history.
Also, it's weird to call it by what they call it in the movie, if it's the one you're talking about.
What do they call it?
Are you? Maybe I'm ahead. I think I'm ahead of you. I apologize. Sorry.
I'm talking about the first street race where Brian is racing
Yes.
Dominic Toretto, and then the other couple of people.
It's got to be what,
who I
like 2
forget.
miles long?
Yeah.
Oh, not even. It's like I think the scene, I didn't time it, is got to be 2 to 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
And theoretically, these are all cars that will run a quarter mile in somewhere between 9 and 11 seconds. So that's an awfully long scene for that kind of a race. I did find it like, there's this classic line when they're setting up the street race, and I just was like, man, this is so anti-worker. But like, they're setting up the street race, right? So they're lining up all the cars
yeah.
along the street they're going to race on, and then they're blocking off one of the streets, and a Pizza Hut driver pulls up, and he stops and gets out of his car like, what's going on? And he's like, time to go home, pizza boy, or whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, streets closed, pizza boy, find another way home. And I'm like, man, fuck you. This guy's just trying to make a fucking living. Fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Apparently, you guys have closed off the street for 2 miles so that you can do like $1.40 in an industrial park for 3 minutes straight. Like, let the guy through.
Yeah, I thought it was just, it's like, it's a gag line for sure in the movie, but I was like, man, this just like really is very anti-worker in a way that's like, it's so denigrating. And I'm like, dude, a lot of people who watch this movie's probably delivered pizzas. Like, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
I delivered pizzas.
And not to mention, most of the people who are racing, maybe not the actual, like Dom, he's like a heist, doing heists, but most of these people probably are just like regular old, service
Yes,
workers,
exactly.
whatever.
Yeah, of the somehow like 13,000 car guys that are at that meet, there's at least like 5,000 mechanics. Like,
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's mostly working class people, I would say, that are there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say one of the stupidest lines that I heard that I specifically wrote down was just before that drag race. And it was, quote, "It's not how you stand by your car. It's how you race it. You better learn that." Yeah, buddy.
And it was trying to be profound, and it just wasn't.
Is not how you
well, that was
stand.
Ja Rule, right?
Yeah, that was Ja Rule.
I never expect like, the great words of wisdom to come from Ja Rule.
You're right. I had my expectations too high. I had my expectations
No,
too
no.
high.
Here's the thing, though. Like, that was a stupid thing to say, but it read genuinely as like a dumb guy, like something a dumb guy would genuinely say to try and sound like a smart, tough guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely did.
It was
It
true
didn't
to
seem
character.
like bad acting or bad writing. It seemed like good writing of a dumb guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I could see that. Yeah.
Well, this actually leads me to like I didn't think about that line in this context, but the director, Rob Cohen, actually said in an interview that he wanted the movie to be like a Western, but with cars and like modern, like to have like the same kind of themes like betrayal, loyalty, family, things like that. So,
He failed so hard.
well, but it like made me think of like, that's like a line that you would get in a Western movie, but like way better, like delivered by like Clint
Yeah.
Eastwood or something.
Yeah.
But in this just comes off as just
Yeah.
stupid.
I think I've heard other people say that this is basically just Point Break, but with cars instead of surfing.
There were numerous times where like Brian would say something and I'd be like, you're just Keanu Reeves, but with a car.
Yeah.
I didn't do the extra math for Point Break and it being a surfboard, but I'm like, there was several times I'm like, you just feel like Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. I also think that a lot of cocaine went into the production of this movie. Just a hunch, but
I would hope so. I would definitely hope so.
That's like true of every movie.
Part of the contract.
I didn't look up any like behind the scenes thing of this, but I do remember reading something about the guy that wrote the movie, and I think if I remember correctly, he turned out the script in like less than a week or something. Something like that.
Wow, he wrote this masterpiece in less than a week?
Well, one of the guys who did it wrote like The Beekeeper, which you guys were talking about earlier.
Oh, wow.
David Ayer. He wrote a bunch of action movies. He wrote like a bunch of like mostly crummy ones, but he did write Training Day, which is actually a good one.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
The same year as this film, actually.
Wow.
I know it's almost cliche to address this line when talking about Fast and the Furious, but can we just briefly mention the granny shifting, not double clutching like you're supposed to?
Yes, I feel like we have to.
Let's.
That's not a fucking. Why would he say those words? They didn't. Like there was no Google. He didn't Google that and come. These were words that this writer pieced together himself and was like, "Yeah, that's car words."
What is? I mean, is granny shifting even a thing?
I'm assuming he means shifting at low RPMs.
Or shifting slow or something. Yeah, granny shifting is like, okay, that at least has some believability to it. Like, oh, you were shifting slow or something. Or
double clutching is literally something you only do in a semi.
Yeah.
Or like
something
an
with
unsynchronized transmission from like the 20s.
Your synchros are going out, maybe you double clutch. But if you do that in a drag race, you will lose the race.
It takes twice as long to shift the gear. You're double clutching. If you've ever understood or like heard about driving a manual transmission car, you know you have to put the clutch in. If you unnecessarily do that twice, you're doubling the time to do that. Like, it's so fucking stupid. It makes no sense.
It's not uncommon for me to use the clutch 0 times.
Yeah.
There's an entire thread about this on the Reddit subreddit Stick Shift, where they get into a discussion over these two.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
I mean, like I said, I see the conversation about that and the danger to manifold thing, like, every time the movie comes up in, like, memes and shit, but still, like, the not double clutching like you're supposed to thing kills me.
What's funny is in the thread about the stick shifting, someone actually just wrote danger to manifolds.
Yeah. So what we're talking about, danger to manifold, like that's what's happening here is during the 3-minute drag race that they're driving in, you see Brian driving his car and it's going fast, but he needs some nitrous, and to activate the nitrous, he's got his laptop open on the passenger seat, and it's giving him warnings and stuff, and whatever, as he's really pushing, he sets it up and he's hitting the nitrous, and then the computer starts flashing danger to manifold. And I don't know what manifold it's talking about or what possible danger there could have been, but inexplicably, after that, the floor pan drops out on the passenger side. Like, first, a bunch of like washers and nuts fall into the passenger footwell.
That are paint matched to the car. I want to point that out. They are paint matched to the exterior body color of the car. Don't know why, but they are.
So yeah, the floor pan drops out and then creates a bunch of sparks under the car. And I'm like, is he talking about like, what kind of manifold was that? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, unless
the floor manifold.
The floor manifold. Note for non-car people listeners, there is no such thing. There is no such thing as a subframe manifold or a car floorboard manifold. Those are not real, I promise.
And there is no danger to any manifold for using nitrous, except maybe an exhaust manifold if you melt it, but I don't know. I feel like
I have seen one catastrophic intake manifold failure in my life, and it was somebody seeing on a dyno how much boost they could put through a plastic manifold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, it was a huge explosion.
I also there was at a Lemons race, someone had a supercharged car with a draw-through carburetor. and it blew up the manifold when it backfired. So like I've seen that happen.
You know what? I could see that. Yeah, with a carburetor, I could see that.
Yeah, I will say, I think Donut Media put a huge shot of nitrous in a PT Cruiser, which has a plastic manifold, and they did pop that manifold at like 100 shot. But that happens in like an instant.
Yeah.
Like, there's no danger to manifold. It's just the danger is there, and now you have no manifold. There's no in between. Like, it doesn't work like that.
I also found it funny in the we're doing this drag race, and like the effects, like the screen blurs and everything when he hits the nitrous. It was just kind of
Or
silly.
just like the
say-
graphic where it shows it like shooting into the engine.
Yes, I
Yeah.
will say.
Actually, I thought that was kind of
That
cool.
was cool.
I will.
And they did it right. They showed that for Rob or for I almost said Rob Dom's RX-7, but no, Dominic Toretto's RX-7. And it showed a rotary engine.
Yeah.
Going into it didn't show like cylinders and pistons. It showed a rotary. So I was like, oh, okay, that's good for them. Like, good for them.
The animations are actually generally on point
Yeah.
throughout the series.
I like them. I thought it's kind of cool. I wish they'd use more of them, but
Especially if you don't fully understand a lot of what's going on, right? Like, it's cool to like see like, oh, here's this shit happening, and like get some idea. You know, it is.
And even if you do know what's going on, when they're accurate, it's cool to see. It's like, oh yeah, they're injecting nitrous and oxygen, or not oxygen, but like just nitrous. It's got fuel and oxidizer in it into the engine. It's like obviously making a bigger explosion. Like, it's cool to see, even if you do know what's going on.
I liked the graphics where it gets blurry and distorted because it reminds me of times when I've done too many mushrooms and just sat in my car making like noises.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Definitely never driven on mushrooms. That's not something I would do. That's dangerous. Don't drive on mushrooms. It's bad.
Yeah, I've hated it every time I've done it.
so this would be a hard thing to remember. When you saw this movie the very first time, did you know ahead of time that that Paul Walker like was a cop? Like, is it?
No. In fact, I made a specific note. We have no idea until about 35 minutes into the film. And that is one thing that the film did really well.
Yeah.
I think that is super cool that you go this long having no fucking idea.
Yeah,
right?
I will say also the first time I saw it, I was 6 years old going on 7. So no, I didn't pick up on much. But no, they did do a very good job of burying that lead. And so you don't find that out until like, it feels very earned in the movie. When you like that reveal, it's like, oh shit, he is a cop.
Yeah, I don't even think he's accused. Like, I don't even think anyone suspects him of being a cop. There's no talk of him being a cop or anything.
Yeah.
And then at some point, the police just pull him over
Right.
after the big race, actually. It was the next day. They pull him over and then arrest him, and you have no idea why until they take him to the fancy house where they're based out of.
Is that really the first time we realize he's a cop?
Yes. Yes.
Oh my God.
And I think he doesn't get accused until Vince accuses him when he goes to like the house party right afterwards, like after he saves Dom, and he like, you know, is driving around in his car.
Yeah,
with
so
right
he has been accused by Vince of being a cop by the time we find out he is a cop, right? Because that does happen before.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
That's true. But then you're like, oh, but we don't actually know that. So like he's probably just saying that. And then you find like right after you get it, you see he's a cop.
Yeah, I do hate that
good.
Vince is the only one who picks up on the fact that he's a cop.
Yeah.
Because Vince is the least likable character. He is an asshole.
Like, okay, so there's the other guy who's just the other guy. He's not Vince and he's not the mad genius guy, whatever. Like, he's just the other guy.
Leon, right?
I do think he calls him a cop. Leon, maybe?
It's Leon,
I do think he calls him, like, I think that there's another scene where Vince is like, he could be a cop, and the other guy's like, yeah, we don't know if he's a cop.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. I think Leon's kind of going along with Vince in one scene.
Yeah,
it's more like, he's not accusing him of being a cop. It's more of a, I second that motion.
When he was
like,
breaking into Hector's place?
I think so.
Yeah, it's when they grab him, right?
Was Leon involved in that scene? I thought it was just
No, he
Dom
wasn't.
and Vince. Yeah. I think Leon.
I could be wrong.
I think Leon accuses him at the house party
Okay.
Yeah, or maybe. Or
yeah, I think it's the
mentions that
house
he could-
party.
after the race when they're kind of like Dom leaves with Letty and they're kind of ganging up on him, and Mia steps in.
Yo, okay, no subtext or commentary when when Dom goes and takes Vince's beer away
Yes.
from him
Oh
and gives
my
it to
God.
Brian, and he takes his shirt and
wipes it.
wipes the fucking. That was a good burn. That was
yeah,
sick.
genuinely, like that
A
was
lot of this film is just good burns on Vince.
Yeah.
Like, really, he is.
especially towards
you
the
wa-
end where
you
he gets
love
that
to hate
rope
him.
burn. Oof.
Yeah, it is funny though. Like, they come back. Like, so after the police show up to this race, they break it up, and then Brian picks up Dominic Toretto, and he's going to take him home until they get escorted by Johnny Tran and Company, the other criminal organization that is exclusively made up of Asian people. And they're, they say, "Oh, you're on our turf" or whatever, and then they shoot up the car and the car blows up. Yeah, I'm skipping over a lot. Just, there's people with automatic weapons.
Broad
And,
strokes.
No, can we not skip over one thing, though? Johnny Tram's henchman, number 1, is the most dead-eyed person I have ever seen in my life. There is no way he's not a serial killer.
He plays that part extremely well.
Was it Lance?
And he does it in Lance. He does it in snakeskin pants.
yeah.
That guy is terrifying. He is genuinely like
I would put money on them having to edit out scenes where that dude just drooled on himself.
especially there's a scene later in the movie which they pick up someone who's wronged them in some way. I can't remember the details, but they like force feed him motor oil.
Yeah.
The fence, right?
Yeah, so that was the
Yeah.
mechanic they hired. They hired a mechanic to build their cars for race wars because they couldn't do it themselves or wouldn't. And then they commented that there were no engines in the cars. So they're like, "Hey, what's wrong with these cars? There's no engines in them." And then they made them eat motor oil
Yes.
because they're also assholes.
Yes, but in that scene, that guy Lance, snakeskin pants man, is an absolute dead-eyed psycho. It's fucking terrifying. It plays it a little too
I
well.
found him both unsettling to look at and the most threatening character in this movie.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so they have that little side adventure as they're driving around, and of course, Dominic Toretto keeps reminding Brian, "Hey, you owe me this car or whatever," and then the car is blown up. So, like, that's going to come back. But then they show up back at home after presumably walking or taking a bus or something. They show up
a
home,
cab.
and then everyone's...
Yeah, they're
What?
They
back
show
in
a
a
cab.
cab.
Okay. So they take a cab. They walk in, and all their friends are having a fucking party at Dom's house when Dom was not there. So, like, some friends he's got.
I mean,
So,
he's
they're all just
exploiting
having a good
them.
time.
They're just exploiting him back. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
That's true. I can't like Dom very much here,
Yeah.
but I get he might be a little pissed.
The only benefit of the doubt that I can give in this scene is that, like, because we watch everything unfold, we know he was harassed by the cops and then there was a whole ordeal. His friends could have thought anything happened, but they have this faith in Dom that they're like, he can handle himself. But yeah, to have a straight up party and just be cool with the fact that, like, the cops show up and your buddy disappears, maybe you
Questionable.
suck. Maybe you're not a great friend.
yeah.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
that's actually what leads to Dom taking Vince's beer away from him and offering it to Brian.
So good.
Only Coronas.
yeah.
Doesn't he like specifically
Which-
say that?
Yes. Which
Yes,
Corona
it has to be a Corona.
Corona did not sponsor this film. I
No.
want to point that out. They just got a ton of free advertisement. I am curious if Panasonic sponsored the film, because when you first see the truck that they boost, everything inside that truck is a Panasonic product. Every single thing.
Yeah. I mean, the whole
Fair.
Yeah.
it's
I think I saw that there was no product placement officially.
Really? Wow.
I mean, it is kind of wild. Like, it is a product of its time that they're stealing, like, TVs and DVD players or whatever.
Yeah. And that was apparently worth 1.2 million.
Yeah.
And that brings the total up to 6 million.
Right.
Yes, I remember those figures specifically. They reference that in the movie.
I will cite a specific moment in my truck driving career that makes me believe that, because I once picked up a load and they gave me the paperwork for a high valued load, which is a specific thing. You have to lock the trailer and tag it with like a numbered tag. Connor probably knows somewhat what I'm talking about.
I did a different kind of trucking, so no.
Okay, fair. Well, they'll have like these they'll give you paperwork and it'll have like an ID number and then a tag that like clicks, and like if it's broken, but it has that matching number on it. So it shows if someone broke into the trailer. I got that for a high value load. The load in question was an entire trailer full of dish soap.
Really?
Wow.
Because yeah, when you you're like, dish soap, that's not fucking high value. But then when you figure you have like, $100,000 50 bottles of dish soap, you're like, I have $150,000 worth of dish soap. Yeah, fair.
I mean, I feel like that's true of any truckload of anything, right? You add enough of it together, you're like, yeah, it's a lot of money.
Well, when you're doing like industrial stuff, like if I'm hauling like a paper roll that weighs 8 tons, but like, yeah, for consumer products, a lot of it doesn't. So yeah, I mean, if you figure you have a trailer full of DVD players, what do those fucking DVD players cost back then? Like $300?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they very well may have had like over $1 million for I don't think they would load a trailer that way. Also, we skipped over it, but no Honda Civic's going to fit under a trailer. Those Civics weren't even lowered significantly.
No, they weren't. It was crazy.
You could definitely see that the truck had been modified to be higher for those scenes. Like, it's very clear if you're familiar with like big rigs or like trailers like that. It's very clearly modified.
Yes. But
I feel like maybe you could do that with a Miata, but not a Civic. Not a Civic Coupe.
Yeah, Miata might be possible for sure. Civic, if you lowered it sufficiently, but it probably wouldn't.
Right.
These were not that. So
this was way before the slammed scene.
You already sort of talked about it with the his car blows up, and this was like pretty much just to one. It was like two things. One, they wanted to get the cops to be mad that he like blew an $80,000 car, I think is what they say. And then he brings them like his Toyota Supra to then it's like all banged up. And that's when I actually saw, I think I was going to mention this before, I saw a Letterboxd review for this film, and it was take a shot every time they say race wars and you're dead.
Yes. So yeah, that's kind of the next.
Yeah, they're trying to start a race war.
Yeah. So they go to the place where everybody is divided by race and is competing against one another.
And yes,
do you think they were even does that even cross their mind as this is a joke they're making, or it just is like accidentally a joke?
There is no possible way they were not aware what they were saying.
It's got to be like a tongue-in-cheek thing to be like,
yeah.
It's race wars. I feel like, and like you said, it's a pre 9/11 movie. I feel like that kind of shit flew in a pre 9/11 world. I don't know.
I guess that could be.
I do feel like there has to be some amount of tongue in cheek because the entire world that they've created is. It feels a little bit like cringy. It's almost a caricature to a point where it's like, yeah, like everything is just a little bit silly. The kind of the parties they all have, the all the women are scantily clothed and it feels very much like we're kind of poking fun at this idyllic world that I don't know, young men have created in their own heads or something.
Oh yeah.
It does feel like that a little bit.
There has never been that many women at a car meet.
No,
never. Believe me, I've been to a lot of them. Never. And generally people are dressing up in jeans and shirts and sweaters and shit. Not the shortest mini skirts in the world.
It said they used 1,500 cars for that scene with additional backup cars to be in, not even being raced, just around, which is actually a lot of fucking cars.
Yeah, that's an incredible amount of cars. I've never seen a 1,500 car meet in person, I don't think.
I personally only own 8.
The other thing that I saw, that this is maybe not exactly related, but I was just thinking about all the cars. The director apparently said he wanted to make, he viewed the idea of a car as a symbol of the ultimate freedom. And then you have this meet where there's just hundreds and hundreds of cars and it's called Race Wars. It just I don't know, those things come together and it tells me that they were just fucking with you, fucking with the people watching. Yeah, you said tongue in cheek, but I think it had to be more just kind of ha 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 audience. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Yeah. It almost to like the gratuitous degree that everything is. Like, yeah, the cars, the women, like everyone has a roll cage that's like paint matched to their car and, $50,000 worth of work in today's market to every single car. And they're all here, and there's thousands of them, and all the women are scantily clad, and it's like a big party, and there's
Yeah,
it's.
Which also, I don't think that fist-wide wad of cash would be enough to pay for all that.
Honestly,
I literally was like trying to like imagine that if it's hundreds, like how much money is that? And I'm like, that is not 3 engines worth of money.
No, that's like a few grand at most.
Where were those dudes getting their cash from?
Hector had a garage, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They don't really dive into the backstory of a lot of the ancillary characters.
No. But that's a lot.
They were the Mexican crew, so they just worked really fucking hard.
Meanwhile, the Japanese crew gets the guy to like build the cars for them.
Yeah, like they're very clearly like discreetly fucking like what's Japanese mafia shit?
Yakuza.
Yakuza.
Yeah. Like I don't know if they were supposed to be, but that like now that I'm saying it, I'm like, oh, they never are explicitly stated to be organized crime, but that the whole time that's what I felt like it was being.
They are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's some kind of organized crime.
Well, actually, because Dom is organized crime.
Yeah.
And the reason they don't get along is because some deal fell through. So yeah, both of those are organized crime.
Well, the funny thing is they first think that it's the Japanese that are heisting them because they had a bunch of DVD players in the back. But then it's like, actually, they just bought those. They just had like a warehouse filled with DVD players for
Maybe they bought them from Dom? They were fencing them for him or something?
Maybe, but they claim they had I thought they say like they had receipts.
They have receipts for them. So like, maybe they bought them in bulk to like resell or something. They're going to do like import-export or something.
They're going to like take the good one out and put a fake one inside.
Yeah. I don't know how the organized crime aspect comes into it because, that doesn't really track very well if they're just going to resell them.
I think like the whole idea just felt like they wanted to have a bunch of different class groups or I guess races of groups just as this rival. I think they actually say in Wikipedia is that the Johnny Tran is Vietnamese, but then one of the other guys is Japanese. So it's like kind of just a mishmash of Asian people, which is also kind of shitty.
It literally felt like the car scene in this world operates on prison rules.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, it does.
Interesting. I could see that.
Yeah, the dynamics were real weird. Just between all the groups, the dynamics were definitely weird. There was like a lot of camaraderie on the surface, but also a lot of like rivalry and stuff. But like, it is weird that everyone was like hung out with their same racial groups and stuff. It's strange.
In all fairness, Hector seemed very willing to hang out with whoever was cool.
Yeah. Again, Hector, coolest character.
Unspoken hero of this film.
What was I just going to say? And like, we didn't even really talk about the like Letty's character, which also they're attempting to make her be Hispanic or like something. I think that in real life she's like part Dominican.
Yeah,
like, as a human.
Yeah, I think her character is pretty explicitly Hispanic.
Isn't that Michelle Rodriguez?
It is, yeah. Her mom is Dominican and her father was Puerto Rican, but she was born in Texas, it says.
But also, I mean, you could even make an argument, like, she seems like competent in every way that would make her a viable member of the gang, but she is Dom's girlfriend. So she, like, I mean, if she's crossing whatever racial barriers or whatever because, like, they're dating, I don't know, maybe she was part of Hector's crew.
But they say they've known each other since, like, she was in, they say something how she, like, liked cars and she was, like, 10 or 12 or something. Yeah. And was part of the same.
They grew up on the same
group.
I think.
Yeah, exactly.
So they've known each other forever.
Okay. I think this goes back to like...
Have these people ever left their neighborhood besides to go to jail?
This seems like a case of intense racial redlining where like literally you only hang out with the people in your neighborhood and it's so racially segregated that it's literally just people of your race 99% of the time.
I almost wonder if maybe that was a point they were trying to make.
It almost feels like it.
I doubt it, but...
Yeah, it's not quite there. It's not quite landing.
If this were a smarter movie, I might agree with you.
Yeah, that's fair. Actually, one of the things about Letty's character I found interesting is like they kind of they try and her character is sort of tries to be independent and actually pretty strong. And that strength is generally directed in a way that is just like she has this hard exterior and can like wisecrack and whatever to people who are harassing her, but she is just pretty like she's getting sexually harassed at race wars by the person she's about to race, and I'm like, it's just like, oh, you should be watching, not racing because you're a woman. It's just straight up, it was that. And then she's like, fuck you, dude. And he's like, how about if I win this race, I get that pretty or sweet little ass or something? And she's like, if you want ass, you can go pick up a hooker on Hollywood Boulevard. If you want to race me, it's going to be $2,000.
Yeah.
And then he just pulls out a wad of $2,000 and then they
everyone
race.
always has a roll of $2,000 on them at all times. In this film.
And she pulls out her wad
So
first. She goes, it'll be too large, and pulls out her wad.
Yeah.
And then he goes, huh, and pulls out his wad. And it's like, how do you just have that exact amount of cash ready to go? It's
No, the ATM has the auto 2000.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah,
press it and it shoots out 20 grand, $2,000.
Like it's cool that like, so she races him, she wins, and you're like, okay, good for her, she wins all that money. But like, it is just weird that I'm like, damn, you're just like, this poor woman is just being harassed.
sexually objectified
and
and harassed constantly. It is kind
as
of
are all
tragic.
pretty much all the women
Oh
in this
yeah,
movie.
definitely.
Women
movie
are
is not
not
passing the Bechdel
No,
test.
no,
absolutely
no,
No.
no. It is bad on all.
I don't even
fronts
think you have
there.
two women who
In
talk
fact-
to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does
I
Letty
don't
ever
think so.
talk
Yeah,
to...
Mia, that's what my initial thought was, Letty and Mia, but I can't think of a specific time.
I don't know if they
Yeah,
talk.
No,
Yeah, I don't think they do.
think
I'm
they
not
do.
sure they talk at all in this movie. That's so sad. Actually, no, there is. Oh, God. So this doesn't pass the Bechdel test. There is a point where there's two women talking about a man, naturally. It was the scene actually at the car meet where, before the race.
Is it the job
Yeah.
And
thing?
Well, it's Dominic
Oh.
Toretto has his arms around two scantily clad women.
Oh yeah.
In front of his girlfriend. His girlfriend Letty walks up and says something to the effect of like, I smell
Yeah.
skanks or
Yes.
something, denigrates these other women, blaming them for her dysfunctional relationship. And then Dom Toretto goes, oh, what? I was just talking. And she's like, yeah, whatever. And I'm like, well, excuse me, hold on. You guys need to have a serious conversation about your relationship
Yeah,
and boundaries here.
What the hell?
Like,
Like, is that okay or not?
the fuck, man?
That's a very clear line cross. If it's not okay, then it's not okay.
I felt really bad that I'm like, so your response is to, just insult these other women when in fact your fucking boyfriend is just clearly doesn't care about crossing that boundary. Yikes. So I do hope she finds a better boyfriend. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler
She does
alert.
not.
Yeah, she does not.
I feel like we probably intended to come back around to this. I'm just gonna go ahead and bring it up. The last movie that we did with you, Evan, was Smokey and the Bandit. That I don't remember the year on that, but it was mid-late 70s, right?
Yeah, 70.
Early
77.
77, 78, somewhere around there.
77.
Yeah, and
Somewhere in there.
so here we have like roughly 20-25 years apart. The world got worse.
Yeah.
It went from like I use media a lot. I'm a big fan of collecting physical media and stuff and getting like that insight into an era past. And I feel like this is a really good example where we see like, Smokey and the Bandit, it was fuck the police, fuck the law. Like, people were pretty respectful of each other and supportive of working class heroes. Fast forward 25 years later, and it is nothing but like, get paid, get laid. That is it. Those are the only fucking rules of their living. Oh, and and family or whatever.
Right.
Which wasn't even really in this film. But for anyone listening, if you've seen any of the other Fast and Furious movies, if you were to take a shot or a drink every time they said something about family that sounded profound, oh my God, you'd be trashed watching every other film.
Yeah, but like the treatment of like there's nothing that I remember from this movie that was explicitly racist. It's just the weird implicit part where like there's a pretty distinct divide between every race.
Yeah.
But in basically every way that I can imagine, this movie seems less progressive than Smokey and the
Yeah.
Bandit.
Yeah,
Yes.
neither one of them is great on like
Yeah.
women's relations, but no, Smokey and the Bandit is better in every other way. Like both of them are bad in
Everyone
that regard.
hated
In
the
fact, in
cops
that way,
movie.
too.
Yeah.
And everyone was willing to work together to undermine the
Yes.
cops and support a working class hero.
Absolutely.
It's also just a better movie, I'm going to say.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is.
Better
Yeah.
written.
Well, and it's funny that like watching this, I'm like, this movie had such an impact on our culture as a whole. Even for people who don't necessarily like cars, everybody kind of knows this film and this film franchise, and it has actually affected car culture. But like, it's not actually that
Yeah.
good of a film.
I think-
I think what people like is the car chases
Yeah.
and the racing, and the racing scenes are not very good. Like, there's just so much of it that is.
It's just
I feel like people are looking for something to like, and so then they're like, "Yeah, that's the car movie," and
Where
so
this
therefore
movie
they
excels
like
is
it.
editing.
I would say it's very campy and over the top. And I think it hit a lot of people at a time in their life where it, like the goofiness and like the sexy, scantily clad women and like the cool cars all came together and really spoke to them. And then the rest of the series is just absurdity after that. But I will say that like
Yeah.
it did hit people in a certain way at a certain time that like really, I don't know, got their dick hard
I
for
think
less
by
of a
people,
lack
you
of,
mean
yeah,
young-
lack of a better phrase. They got their dick hard and like, yeah, so that it just stuck with them.
Yeah, it's definitely
And
like a.
I put myself in that category. Honestly, it came out when I was 6 or 7 years old. I was like, oh my god, this is the coolest shit that I've ever seen.
I actually feel like the car scene might be better and might almost certainly have more women involvement if not for these films.
Oh wow, yeah. I think you might be right.
Like, honest to God, like, I think this really did turn a lot of, like, not necessarily knowingly, but, like, a lot of young women at the time would be like, oh, that's not a movie
Yeah.
for me. It doesn't speak to them. It has nothing for them. And so they didn't get into cars the same way that, like, maybe we did. When we were young, we'd see this and be like, yeah, cars and whatever. But it wasn't a movie that denigrated young men necessarily. Whereas
If you're a
It
young
did.
man and you watch this movie, you like, and that's where your head's at. You think, oh man, if I get a cool fast car, I'm gonna get laid. If you're a young woman watching this movie, you're like, oh shit, if I get a cool fast car, I'm gonna get harassed relentlessly.
Yeah.
yeah.
Literally.
Like, your only models are Mia and Letty in this film, and both of them are fending off unwanted male attention the entire movie. That's like the whole point of their characters. So yeah, if you're a lot of young girls watching this, probably were not super inspired to go like get a cool car. And so yeah, maybe without this movie, the scene would be better.
Well, and I remember watching the No-P drag racing on TV around the same time, and the only women I saw were, I guess, I don't know what you'd call them, like, if it was in a like a boxing ring, they'd be called ring girls or whatever, scantily clad women that were like holding up signs or like,
Or like dropping the flags or whatever.
Definitely a featured part of this
right,
movie.
yeah. So like, I mean, that was reflected in the car scene at the time also. Like that was,
It's not that there were women in the car scene and this pushed them out. It's that this was such a cultural touchstone that it really spoke to a lot of people, but it very much only spoke to, for the most part, young boys, young men who were not left feeling like, the car scene was not a safe place for them. Where I feel like it maybe could have broken some of those barriers if those characters were written a little better.
yeah.
Or a lot better, rather.
Yeah.
A lot better.
Or at all.
Well, so what do you think about, like, so I mean, we have the only, I guess, sort of like the two, big action sequences other than the races are when they go to do like the final job, they go to get their black Honda Civics and do like one last job, and Vince gets, fucked up, shot and everything. And then you have like right after that happens, you then have the racing through with trans crew, like going after them on motorcycles. Like, do you think those two are decent? Like just as like action sequences setting up, but like much more insane action sequences in this.
I feel like they were very believable, like grounded action sequences. They weren't like crazy cool or anything, but they just, I don't know, they kind of had a feeling of like, holy shit, this does feel very like real in a way that's like, this could happen. Not that like,
Yeah.
you know,
I
I've
feel
never
like
been in
The,
those.
the mad scientist, what was that guy's name?
Jesse.
Jesse.
That it? Dude, when he got shot, that like kind of hit me.
Yeah.
Because he was the
Yeah.
character that he most earnestly was just like, oh, I love cars, I love engines, I'm autistic, and this
This is
I
my
just trains
passion.
never clicked with me. I like 4 cylinders. So when he got shot, I was just like, oh man, he was like the closest one to being like kind of a fucking guy to hang out with.
A real person.
I feel like this is a good time to bring up, I think one of Jesse's best lines from the film, actually, and just like where you come to like him, because he is kind of the team's like tuning guru. He's the one who like sets up the computer side of a lot of their cars and stuff. And then he's asked, as they're having dinner at some point in the movie, he's asked to say grace. And so his grace is pretty good. This is pretty iconic. So he says, okay, dear heavenly,
Spirit.
and he couldn't think of the word. So Leon says spirit, and he goes, spirit, thank you. Thank you for providing us with direct port nitrous injection, 4-core intercoolers, and ball bearing turbos, and titanium valve springs. Thank you.
Yes.
And that's his prayer. And I'm like, yeah, all for it.
Amen, brother.
Very likable character.
Amen, brother.
Fuck your dry ass chicken, dude. Fucking bearings. Hell yeah.
I also
But
at the very end of the heist, what happened to Leon? Did he just disappear or something?
something went wrong with the
okay.
car. They all had problems.
He had to drop back to get like,
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then he comes back at the end to like pick up Mia and Dom.
Right.
And that's when
okay.
Dom is screaming at Mia, like, get in the car.
Yeah.
Dude, I
Yeah,
gotta
'cause
say,
this-
like, as much as like, look, especially talking to you guys, but watching the movie and then talking to you guys, I'm like, Tom is a fucking
Yeah.
douchebag. But at
He
no
is.
point is he more fucking relatable than when they're calling fucking airlift for Vince and Brian gets on the phone. He's just like, this is Officer so and so,
Yeah.
and Dom just has this like extended look on his face. Like for a very long time, he's like, I don't know whether to help my friend or kill a cop.
Well, and
Yeah.
Very
Brian didn't
relatable.
really need to say that he was a cop, did he? Like,
Well, I think,
Probably if you're calling for that
I
shit,
think
maybe.
to get the medevac like quicker, I would assume they give the cops priority, frankly, if a cop calls something in.
He had also revealed himself to
Right.
Mia, so like
Yeah.
the clock was really ticking for when that bomb was going to drop.
Yeah,
And
he might as well rip
I
that bitch down.
actually read that as 50-50 using his position to get quicker treatment, and he's got to tell Dom ASAP, so it might as well be now.
Yeah.
yeah,
sure.
that's fair.
Less
No, that's
chances
good.
he's going to kill him because like he's watching his friend like potentially die, right? So
Yes.
That was smart. Yeah, that was actually smart on Brian's.
It was tactical, like I'm letting you know that I'm a cop and I'm using that position to help you, which, let's all be very clear, still fuck that guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
the final scene, I think like for me, like the chase at the end where they like fly across the train or whatever, like I always remember like that's always one that stuck out to me is just, I don't know.
that was
it's
pretty
solid.
good. Yeah.
It's iconic. I would
Yeah.
absolutely say that scene is iconic. And then, Dom hits the semi like right afterwards and flips the Charger. Brian, like it sets up the very big like emotional climax of the movie.
But I thought it was funny, like watching that. I'm like, God, he's not very good at driving either. First, we've got Brian, who drives a car, spins it out at 140, and decides he should continue driving. And then we got Dom, who's street racing and everything, hits some shit after the train tracks. I'm like, dude, you guys drive, get a little practice, go to the track or something. You shouldn't be doing this on the street if you're not very good drivers. None of them are good drivers, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like their whole shtick is they're all supposed to be good drivers, and there are a lot of instances where they are very much not good drivers.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, when you do a wheelie for 200 or 300
Yeah.
feet in a Charger, and then when it slams back down on the ground and you maintain control, that's not nothing.
Yeah.
That's true. That's fair.
I will like to point out he was doing a wheelie while doing a burnout, which is physically impossible, but very cool.
I've seen a
to see.
motorcycle do it.
Well, I can almost see it being possible on a motorcycle, but I'm fairly sure the physics just don't work out in a vehicle, like a
It was in the
4-wheel.
mud.
Okay, yeah, that changes things.
It's still impressive,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
Sorry, total sidetrack.
I mean, to be fair, some of the people in this film, like the actors, I mean, I know a lot of them didn't film all these scenes, but they didn't even have like driver's licenses before they even made this movie.
Well, Paul Walker's girlfriend wasn't even old enough for one in this.
Hey.
Oof.
Ouch.
Ouch.
at least one joke had to be made.
Yeah,
We couldn't let him get away scot-free.
I was gonna at least close out the episode by saying, rest in piss, Paul Walker, you were a pedophile. But yeah, I think it should be addressed at some point. That guy was like 33 and dating a 16-year-old.
Oh,
Fuck
shit. I
him.
didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's
no,
pretty fucked up.
he wasn't great apparently.
How did he die?
Driving passenger in a Porsche 918 Carrera with like shitty tires on it. They got wrapped around a telephone pole.
Yes, it was.
Wasn't he?
They were driving on like crazy dog shit.
Yeah.
Wasn't he with like one of
For
the
a
guys
car
from
that
Jackass
was
or
like
something?
really.
No,
I
I
think-
think
I think that was a separate
okay.
thing.
yeah. Ryan Dunn died doing a similar thing, I think. Maybe
Oh,
a
okay.
motorcycle.
Yeah,
But-
wasn't Paul Walker the case where like it was so thoroughly destroyed that like there was nothing left of the car even?
Yeah, pretty much. They
Pretty much.
they
yeah.
wrapped
Yeah.
it around a tree and then crunched it into other things as well.
Yeah, it says they weren't drinking or anything like that.
Yeah. Just got in the car with a bad driver and shitty tires and blammo.
Yeah, well, for what I heard, they were going to go drinking, but his girlfriend wasn't old enough. To get involved.
Hey.
I didn't actually hear that. So that's true.
Man, I didn't realize that he was like a creepy that way. I thought you were like just joking because the actress in the film was young.
Oh, no.
Oh no! When he was during this movie, he was dating like a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was
Oh.
during this movie. I think it might have been later because he was 33 at the time.
I think it was later.
Yeah,
but
I think it was later
yeah,
on.
He was, okay,
point
fair enough.
being,
Yeah, I think I said this in an episode recently. Like, if you didn't do movies or episodes on movies with like piece of shit directors or actors, like there wouldn't be many movies to
yeah,
do.
yeah, right.
yeah, there's a lot of bad out there, so I get it.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't know if we actually accurately covered, and maybe we should just talk a little bit about Vince potentially questioning his sexuality
Yeah.
or
I was
he projects this macho thing, and he's the one who used the F slur, and it just throughout the movie he's the one wearing the mesh shirt, and I think we do need to address this man is having some questions, I feel like. And I think the scene that really does drive that home is in the kitchen where he is denigrating Paul Walker's character Brian specifically because he is helping Mia do the dishes. So like Brian's there helping do the dishes and he's like, "Hey, I think we should go out sometime." And before she can answer, Vince walks in very drunk to make popcorn for the group as they're watching a movie.
Oh,
and
no,
he
she
looks at him.
definitely answered because she was like, "No, I don't date my brother's friends."
Oh, is that okay? Okay, I forgot that part. Yeah, so she says no. Then Vince walks in drunk, sees that he's doing dishes and laughs and basically calls him like a sissy boy or whatever. And he's just like, then he says, again, some questionable things. One, he's struggling with the microwave. He can't figure it out. He has known Dominic Toretto since the 3rd grade, it's established. So like he's been to their house before. He should know how this microwave works. He cannot get it to work. And he's like, I don't get it. And then he's like, "Oh, you're a pretty boy, Brian, and like what did he say? Go detail my car, and when you're done with it, we can put you in a pretty dress and put you on the street corner where you belong," or
Yes.
something to that effect.
He definitely
like,
calls him pretty.
Hey, man.
Multiple times.
Yeah, which I mean, like, very weird. Just this is-
Which I just want to have a conversation with the dude and be like, "Hey, like, you're gonna actually have better luck. Like, if you like a girl, you should maybe like help her and not just belittle
Yeah.
her."
for me, the best part of that scene is when Mia asks Vince like about some restaurant that they know,
Yeah.
and then she's like, "Hey, Paul, why don't you take me to that restaurant tomorrow at 9:00?"
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, what was that restaurant that you were talking about taking me to? The Cuban place? It was called like Cha Cha Cha
Yes,
or something like
yes.
that."
Cha cha cha.
And then she turns around and it's just like, "Yeah, Brian, you can take me there."
Again, this
really
burns on
burns
Vince.
Vince.
This is just like half this movie. Just sick burns on Vince.
which he then he leaves the kitchen, by the way, and in a noteworthy, like, leaves tail between his legs. He has been defeated by Brian, Mia, and the microwave. Okay, so he walks back into the room, and he yells at everyone else. He's, make your own damn popcorn. Oh, sorry, my mic fell off. He's like, make your own damn popcorn, and it's like, oh, you poor baby, you couldn't figure out the microwave. And so he's just all mad, storms off. He's a baby the whole movie. But yeah, it's just like, okay, I feel like this man is questioning his sexuality.
Like, I got shot.
Oh, somebody helicopter me, flight for life. Oh, big baby.
But yeah, that is one of my favorite scenes in the entire film, is this guy who's been an asshole the entire time gets burned again. It's great. It's a good way to burn him too. Like, really, that is putting the knife in and twisting it. And yeah, this is to me where it's very, very clear, where it's like, all right, man, you were thinking about this other man in a dress in a way that is...
You're also like...
I have a legitimate question for the group. Are we being serious, or is this just a for funsies thing? Because, like...
Yeah, so for anyone out there listening, you may notice that I was cut off due to a power outage, and so the rest of the Cars and Comrades kept going a little bit on the conversation here on Fast and Furious, the first one from 2001, and then we'll just kind of pick up and pretend like none of that happened. It's still, Saturday night. Everyone's, 4 Miller High Lifes deep, or more. I don't know, whatever anyone's at, and I don't know. I think for myself, I didn't have any more specific notes. I think we were at the last moment. We're talking sort of about some of the. I guess you're all talking about sort of like the sexuality of some of the characters and kind of how Vince and like maybe Dom, like that's the only thing I think I maybe was left to hit is like Dom and, Brian are both kind of like this bromancy vibe that I don't know if they were going for, but it's kind of hard to ignore.
They definitely share a look. Like the first time that we see them see each other, they just both have this look in their eyes. Like, I don't know how to describe it other than like, fuck me eyes. It is very sexually charged.
I'm just going to chalk all this up to it was a different time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like this was before the male loneliness epidemic.
Oh. So could the male loneliness epidemic be solved by souping up your car?
Souping up your car, going outside. I'll tell you, yeah, it does work that way. I made a lot of friends doing that. So, it's true.
Well,
go outside,
Or find random internet weirdos to start a podcast with.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, God knows we need more podcasts.
Yeah.
I know we were kind of bouncing around a little bit, going a little bit back and forth, but I know the last scene we were really delving into was the scene in the kitchen where Vince was denigrating Brian for helping do the dishes, and it was uncomfortable to say the least.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the last like scene we were really
I definitely felt like Vince was
touching on.
uncomfortable with something in that scene.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, I mean it's very clear that throughout this time that he's had a thing for Mia, but Mia has absolutely no interest in him, or maybe he doesn't have an interest in her because I don't know, maybe he's closeted. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he's interested in Dom.
I mean, kind of hard not to be. I get it.
I definitely see it. He's
Dom versus Brian, though. Paul Walker versus Vin
Diesel.
Diesel.
Just would have to depend on what you're into. I mean, they're
very different.
Apples and oranges. Apples and oranges.
I guess if what you know about Brian or Paul Walker as a human, maybe you wouldn't want to go for that. As I learned last night when we were talking, is that he's kind of a shithead, or was a shithead.
Yeah, I was actually pretty surprised you didn't know that.
I know. I feel like I don't know. I didn't do enough digging on the Fast and Furious.
I mean, if you put in the effort for any particular movie ever made, you're going to find a shithead. It's the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. I feel like a lot of people just don't know because we all live in this. We all are subject to laws. Like, we would go to fucking prison, and a normal person can't just like openly date a child. Most people can't get away with that. So I think we kind of just assume if someone's not in prison, they're probably not actively dating a 16-year-old. But you'd be wrong.
I feel like imports don't shine drag racing. Why is there no other besides Dom's Charger? There's no muscle cars in this. Like that's what would have been racing. Like in drag racing, there would have been a lot of that in this era.
Yeah, for sure. I think they were just going for the tuner car aesthetic, whereas like at the same time, you would have seen Mustangs and Camaros and shit like that all bunched up into this same group of cars. It's just you would also see a lot of imports. Some of them could drag race. I mean, you could do a lot of work to them to make them, quick, but you would also there's no way you would have that race and not see like a Camaro or a Mustang involved somewhere.
My thinking is just that those cars are bad at everything except acceleration. Like they don't handle well on the track without a bunch of work and all that shit. All the import stuff would kind of be the exact opposite. Like they handle well, they're nimble, but hard launch is not really where like a front wheel drive car is going to excel.
To be fair, some of that is just what do you actually have the opportunity to do, right? You're not really, nobody's doing road course on city streets. Basically, city streets tend to be long and straight, and if that's all you got, you're gonna probably just see who's faster in a straight line.
Does that change in the other movies? Like, is it the same kind of cars for all of them? Like this kind of style, just like updated for the time?
They kind of start.
No, they get into a lot.
Yeah, they kind of start bringing in other cars, but like they basically only have Dom drive a Charger and have Paul Walker drive a Supra or an R34 GTR at some point in the movie. But they kind of have like the specific cars that they drive from here,
or their own unique type of car, even because it's like Dom drives several Chargers, Paul Walker drives several different GTRs, so like it's just their model of car, I guess, in the films.
About it being like mostly import cars, it's definitely an aesthetic choice, and it like serves the storyline in the way that like Dom's Charger now stands out as something unique and different from everything else we've seen. If we saw a bunch of like, muscle cars, Fox body Mustangs, whatever, like American muscle stuff, then his car wouldn't seem as like a stark contrast. So I think it's more of like a visual like storytelling device than
that's a really good point. Yeah. No, I
just realized this really dates this movie. This movie predates the LS swap.
It does. It does.
I would question whether there had been a single LS swap done at the time of filming of this movie.
When did the LS
99, I believe.
come?
It was 98.
Oh, was it 98?
Actually. Yeah. But I don't think people were swapping those into.
Well, but I know it was one of those. It wasn't in everything in 99, 2000. There was a couple of years of overlap between the small block and the LS.
Yeah.
Like I want to say it was.
Yeah. For anyone who's listening who isn't an avid car person, we're talking about a specific like a generation of engines from General Motors, Chevy mostly. It was their big V8 engine. So people nowadays will take those out of like trucks or Camaros and put them in everything. They'll put them in imports, and
it's become a trope where it's almost like boring and passé to throw an LS in, but it's just a cheap, powerful, reliable-ish motor.
It's been done to death. Think of a car, there's been an LS swap into it.
But to think of an era where it was had possibly never been done for a car guy seems it's like trying to remember what life was like before smartphones.
Yeah.
One thing that I didn't mention at the top of this, that I was just looking at the whole franchise, is just like the budget and how much these film grossed. So the first one was like kind of modest. It was made for $40 million. It made $200 million worldwide. But I noticed as it got to around the fifth one, it was making double or more in the international market than it was making in America. Like Fast Five made $200 million in America, but $416 million across the world. And then the seventh one made over $1 billion internationally and only $350 million. Like these movies have been making a ton of money. They've grossed $7.5 billion, and the most recent one, Fast X, I just noticed the budget was $378 million.
Jesus Christ.
That's crazy.
I mean, this is why they keep making them.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
they're billion-dollar movies now.
Yes, 100%. I mean, they'll just make them until, one of them finally bombs. Like, Marvel is finally seeing their, like, this isn't quite the same level of Marvel, but budget-wise, $378 million is fucking insane.
Yeah.
That's like could be the highest, like one of the most expensive movies ever made.
I mean, it costs a lot of money to put a Fiero in space.
Yeah.
But
is that the one is that in Fast X?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Actually,
recently
I thought it was
through.
before that, but
It might be. I recently did a watch through of all of them back to back, and I hadn't seen like the last three. So those are like, it could have been in any of the last three.
I've only ever seen this first one.
You've never seen Tokyo Drift?
No.
I
Oh,
haven't.
wow.
Tokyo Drift is my favorite by
It is
far.
my
Not
favorite.
just because I like drifting.
Dude, after watching the video essay
does-
on Too Fast, Too Furious, I realized I'd never seen that one.
Well, we'll have to
wa-
make this into a series.
Yeah, welcome to the
I don't know.
Cars and Comrades and Left of the Projector, first of 15-part series and counting.
You have to do the show too. So this film, Fast X is the fourth most expensive film ever made.
Wow. Okay.
The only films that cost more were Star Wars, and Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom.
Huh.
That's
They had to
insane.
get dinosaurs.
Which is
for that.
crazy.
That couldn't have been cheap.
I'm waiting.
I feel like there should be a Jurassic Park, Fast and Furious
Damn it, that's the
crossover.
joke I was
yeah.
going to make.
Oh yeah.
What did you
Or
say?
I don't know, Fast and Furious Jurassic Edition.
Oh,
They could
yeah.
do like a
they have a
travel
time machine.
thing?
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Hell
If
yeah.
they've
Go
gone
back
to
in time.
space, they can go through time.
Yeah.
They are superheroes.
But I mean,
Not in this
Jurassic Park
first
doesn't
film,
involve
but-
time travel. That's just these can be happening in the same world. In the newest Jurassic Park movies, they just let dinosaurs loose.
What if the dinosaurs got out and then this is kind of how the rest of the series goes. Some government agency will call up the team and be like, we need a team of people who can drive super good to solve our problem.
Yes.
And that they could like round up the dinosaurs or something. I feel like that's what they should do.
A remake of the original Fast and Furious, but then they open up the trailer instead of DVD players, it's Velociraptors.
No. No, they have to race on top of the dinosaurs. Like, so they're just running with dinosaurs. I guess they wouldn't need cars then. That would kind of ruin it.
Hey, if you can drive a Charger, you can drive a Velociraptor.
That is a line that would be
Yeah.
Or they'd probably have like a F-150 Raptor.
Yeah. They would. They absolutely.
Yeah, they like clone a car from like like a Model T, but they soup it up or something.
Model T-Rex.
Model T.
Oh, this is gold. Like we need to call the studio right now. Like, I mean,
Yeah, if
this
we
is,
write down
this
a
is
script,
$1 billion
like
franchise.
we can copyright a script and pitch it to them.
You know,
Apparently, it only takes a week. Apparently, it only takes a week to write up a script. So,
I might have been exaggerating on that. I am looking at like some of the backstory behind like how it got written, and it's based off of a 1998 article in Vibe.com called Racer X, which is about street racers in New York City. So it's about some Nissan 300ZX and a Mitsubishi Starion drag racing on the Henry Hudson Parkway.
interesting.
Crazy.
This movie would have had a very different vibe if it was set in New York City instead of LA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it works really.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It would have had to be way less fun and camp.
I mean, they could go to New York in one of the
Oh,
movies, right?
absolutely.
They could, like-
They've been all over the world
Just-
at this point, but specifically the first one has a very, I don't know, beach vibes tone to it.
yeah, they could almost do like a Smokey and the Bandit like meets this, and they have to like race across different states or a country, but instead of doing it to bring beer, it's like, I don't know, something more ridiculous.
Corona.
A dinosaur embryo.
Rona.
Corona, yeah, I guess that makes the most sense. Oh.
They should just skip all the frilly shit and just do a Fast and Furious, but with class consciousness.
What would that look like?
Well, see, if we pitched one, you'd make it more like that, right?
Yeah.
It would be more interesting.
Instead of Dom and Paul Walker,
even
it's just Che and Fidel.
even this one, I wrote almost like a goofy little like note, basically, but it's unintentional. I don't think the movie set out to do this, but to me, Brian's character, or Paul Walker's character, Brian, I feel like he is an unintentional metaphor for the American working class. He is exploited by all of his bosses, be them Dominic Toretto or the police / FBI, who like blame him when he's like, hey, don't go after Johnny Tran. I don't think he did it. And they're like, we're going to do that anyway. And then they do it. And then they're like, oh, we didn't get him on any good charges. It's your fault, Brian. And he's like, bro, what the fuck?
He did literally tell them to do it.
No, he told them not to do it. And then when they were like, well, we decided we're going to do it anyway, they called him and said, just say yes if you agree. And he's like, yes, I guess. Like, he kind of just didn't have a choice. He told them, I need more time. And they just didn't give it to him.
He's a metaphor for the American working class in that, like, he's also a fucking cop.
Why didn't they also just make one of the truck drivers be like an undercover FBI agent or something and then catch them that way?
That would make more sense, yeah.
They could make a movie out of that.
Yeah.
Also, I did think it was weird that,
yeah.
like, these truck drivers are like, I'm going to get a gun. And it's like, dude, you could just, like, when you get robbed, just be like, oh, hey, I don't want no trouble. You can go ahead and take it. That's not my shit back.
No, I actually found that to be one of the less realistic parts of this movie.
Yeah, I'm like, they're the guy's like hitting him with a baton in the first scene. I'm like, dude, what? Stop it. Just say, hey, I will stop this truck and you can go ahead and take it. It's all insured, baby. You're robbing the insurance company. You are not robbing these truckers.
By the end, when the guy's like blasting with a shotgun, I'm like, there is not one fucking independent, there is not one trucker out there driving for a company who cares that much about his freight.
Yeah, and if he owns anything, it's the truck itself, and he's just blasting holes in it. It's like, that doesn't
Shooting
make
directly
any goddamn
into the hood.
sense.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, my dude, you definitely put holes in your radiator. You should slow down.
We've already established that fried piston rings do not stop a vehicle in this universe. You think a busted radiator is? Like, nah, it's fine.
Well, and it's funny that, like, of all the things, like, his insurance, even if he owns the truck, his insurance will cover a stolen truck. It will not cover he shot holes in his truck. Your insurance isn't going to cover that. So, yeah, very weird that, you know, all these people are caring for the company so much. I did think that was funny.
Also, I think federally, you're not supposed to have guns on board your truck.
I think you are allowed to in some respects, but I could be wrong. I know this is
California.
There are certain places where I used to drop off where they would specifically disallow guns and other weapons.
I remember there being discussions about this when I got my CDL, and everybody had like some level of disagreement on when it was and was not allowable. But the general consensus was that you're not supposed to have fucking guns on your truck.
Also, if it's like a state-by-state that this is canonically in California, notoriously the strictest gun laws in the country. So, yeah.
Yeah, like he literally upped it from like an insurance claim to possibly doing time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they should have just let him get away with the DVD players and shit. But, you know, whatever. I guess the truckers they didn't want the hit to their ego or something. I don't know.
It just makes for a fun final scene.
Oh, I had a great idea. Fast and Furious Jeepers Creepers crossover.
I do think I think we should at least talk about the final scene just a little bit after their drag race and Dominic Toretto is hurt. And then Brian gives him the keys to the Supra to let him escape.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else had any thoughts on that, but again, I couldn't help but think, I'm like, dude, this guy has not really been a good friend of yours. I don't know why you're feeling so attached to him, because again, he's done nothing but exploit your labor and has given you nothing without something else in return. He didn't seem like a good friend.
It's just like he thinks it's cooler to like drive around cars and do that shit than like work for the police, which I guess I can respect in some sense.
That is cooler.
Like that's other than that though, like I don't think that's what he was thinking of, right? He's like, I owed you a 10-second car.
Yeah.
Like,
actually, I think there should be more people in the world that are willing to like completely blow up their careers at the FBI for a guy they've known for like a week or two.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But also to be clear, in case any listeners are thinking about racing their car for pink slips or something, you never owe somebody a different fucking car. If you break the car in the race, they just want a broken car. They don't get to be like, well, I want a different car from you. That's not how that works. So that deal was always
Also, the car
horseshit.
got blown up because of Dom's bullshit.
Yeah. So he got his 10-second car and then it got blown up. That's his fucking problem. There's no way. There was no need for any indentured servitude there. But Brian was happy to give it, which again is why
I had that moment where I'm like, that's not realistic because of this thing. And then I was like, wait, I don't know. Will nitrous explode like that? Because I know nitrous isn't in and of itself explosive, but since it is feeding more oxygen
Pressurized.
and pressurized, but like, I mean, I know that like the blue flame or like whatever, like, you had like colored flames, but like, yeah, if there's like a fire and a nitrous tank leaks, is that going to feed the fire the same way it feeds internal combustion, or is it just going to be not?
Yeah, the same way that blowing on a fire would, right? It's oxygen to a fire.
I don't think it's going to be enough to lift an entire car up in the air like 3 feet, but I don't know.
True.
I don't know. What did they blow up the Franco with? That blew his car up 100 feet or whatever. Was that nitrous they used or what?
It wasn't Franco. It was some other fascist guy, but yeah.
I thought it was Franco.
I know what you're talking about. No, he died of natural causes, I think.
Boo.
Oh, well, whatever.
I know, right? The one thing I noted in that scene where Dom had just crashed the car into the semi is, he's got a pretty nasty head injury. Like, it looks like he hit his head against the roll cage or something. Like, I don't know if I'd be handing him the keys to the car and say, go for it, buddy. Like, we got to get you to a hospital right now, dude.
Yeah,
That's
but
true.
he's not going back to jail.
Hell before the
Right.
cell, baby. Hell before the cell.
He's going to end up like that guy he hit with the ratchet, like, taking the bus to work or whatever. Fate worse than death.
Yeah.
I do think though, I do kind of want to end. There's a couple of lines in the film that I just wanted to highlight because they're probably some of the best ones in the film. And the one that I think everyone's going to
real quick.
remember is the "I live my life a quarter mile at a time for those 10 seconds or
Yeah.
less. Nothing else
For
matters."
those 2 to 3 minutes.
Honestly, yeah. But all in all, I feel like that's a good line. It's true enough.
Yeah.
I get it. I like cars. I feel it. So that's probably one of the really good ones. The other one that I know friends who this applies to, and so I find it extra funny when they're in Johnny Tram's garage and they notice that they don't have any engines in the cars, and they go, "They got no engines. What are they planning on racing with? Hopes and dreams?" And I'm like, yeah, I know friends like that. Hey man, when are you gonna have an engine in that car? Are you gonna be racing this summer or what? Yeah, I'm gonna get an engine. I'm getting this one. It's like, all right, well, you shouldn't have taken the old one out because it was fine. So I have friends like that.
Just most of the dialogue is
Yeah.
it's cheesy, but it's again, is very much of the time.
Guys, I have a theory. When Dom gets hit in the head or, crashes that car and hits his head, what if the rest of the movies, like where they go to space and stuff, are all just in his mind?
He's
Like,
just in a coma.
I actually think that would be the best way to end that fucking series. Actually, I think that would be hysterical.
Yeah, that would be incredible.
God, dude, in like the 80s or 90s, there was like a soap opera that like the final episode, the big reveal is that like it was all this kid's imagination or something.
Right.
It's
Say
just
no
imagine
further.
like Fast and the Furious, like 37, when the big reveal was Dom waking up from a coma.
I mean, it is the only way to explain the rest of the series, I feel like, because it does get bonkers. Like this first film is very grounded. I cannot stress how grounded. Like it is. This one, the second one is already getting off the rails. The third one is back to grounded. Tokyo Drift, I'm gonna say, is pretty grounded. And then every other one after that is just
Yeah, they
off the
really
wall.
start going off the deep end after the fourth one.
I feel like
it
I to make this movie more grounded, what they needed to have at least one character who like as like a passing scene or maybe in the background he's like on the phone with his bank or like maybe his girlfriend because he spent the mortgage payment on a fucking new set of forged pistons. Like it's
Or
kind of what
was-
Jesse was doing because he had like so much faith in how he was going to do. He bet the car, but like
Right.
The more realistic thing would be like, no, I'm keeping my car no matter what, but I'm willing to sacrifice the house.
And actually, this is one note that I saw that was they painted this house white, like whatever the house they rented, they painted it white intentionally so that the color of the cars would like pop more, which is just a random note.
Interesting. I can tell you that the Dominic Toretto house, people drive by that pretty much every day. To this day, everyone takes pictures there. That house is like, it is a place that many people visit if they're into cars and they are in LA.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, I didn't think to go to any of the film locations when I was there last, but maybe next time. I forget I think we talked about this a little bit, but what did you guys think about all the fashion that was going on in this movie, like the early 2000s fashion? Or was this like a little bit more of an unrealistic movie version of, what real people were wearing?
Yeah, it felt like everybody was always in their going out clothes.
Right.
Like that way, but,
Yeah.
it did feel like realistically what people were wearing at the time.
Okay.
I mean, I don't remember a lot of dudes in mesh tank tops, but I mean, I grew up in the rural South. Maybe that just wasn't what was happening there.
I also don't remember a lot of that. I mean, yeah. And I don't know, I don't remember women dressing up exactly the same way that they were in this movie, like really low-rise jeans and tight shirts and everything, but I'm sure that happened.
I remember it a little bit. I think they hyped it up in the film because,
Yeah.
again, it was not progressive when it came to women.
It was basically
I do think you nailed it when you said they were just always in their going out clothes. Like, did people just dress like that? No, but I mean, you're going out for the weekend, maybe you dress up that way. And
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think it was kind of designed for male fantasy, this movie.
No shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Why do you think that dude's in a mesh tank top?
Oh,
I feel like that has somehow become my focal point for the movie.
I at least appreciate that, like, the most homophobic asshole in the film is like, you are not supposed to like him. You are supposed to dislike. He is a villain within this story, and I appreciate that, like, to some extent, everything he did, you're supposed to loathe, and so making those things look bad is at least, good-ish.
Yeah.
Does he,
Except for mesh tank tops. They didn't deserve that. They don't deserve to be
That's true.
associated with him. They're cool.
that's going to be the cover for the episode art.
Does he ever show up in any other of the later movies?
No, he's gone after this.
He's in some later ones, like, yeah. Maybe the 5th or 6th one, he plays himself, but like, obviously years down the road, he's like taken off to some other country and has like a simple life there. He is in the movie.
A Simple Life with his husband?
No, he has a wife and a child. So yeah, they didn't follow through on his homosexuality, I guess. But like maybe Connor said, I think he might be bi. I was getting bi vibes. But.
Yeah, I feel like bi vibes for sure. I feel like that can be a little more confusing for people.
Yeah.
Because, like, you can only be so confused about liking one gender and not another.
Yeah. This guy's obviously struggling with the fact that he does have the hots for Mia, but also this new pretty boy, Brian, is igniting things within him.
So he's actually in two other. He's in Fast 5 and F9.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
The 9th one is just called F9?
Yep.
Man, they should have saved that for the 12th one.
Why?
Yeah, that would have been better.
F12?
Oh. Ha!
I don't get it.
Fuck 12?
Oh, they still could do it.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
It looks like it also was referred to as the Fast Saga, which seems like very much like trying to sound like, I don't know, like Star Wars-y or something.
Well, they are
The
going into
Fast
space.
Saga.
Maybe this is like the origins.
This is the real crossover we're gonna get. Is Fast and Furious X Star Wars.
Oh, they're going to do pod racing.
Dom is like Emperor Palpatine's new apprentice.
This reminds me of what is it that I forget what show it was on, but that monologue that Patton Oswalt did about like
Parks and Recreation.
yeah. Now that Disney owns Star Wars and Marvel, they can do a crossover or whatever. He's like, imagine this, so and so character or whatever. Yeah, I don't know who owns the Fast and the Furious franchise. Like,
I think it's Universal.
Okay. So what can they do crossovers with? Like, I don't know.
Harry Potter?
Frankenstein.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
Brian, I feel like you're getting a little quiet.
Oh, hold on.
I don't know what's going on.
Thank you all, the Cars and Comrades hosts, for coming on Left of the Projector for our second collaborative episode. And I guess everyone knows about your podcast, but
Like 50 people know about our podcast.
well, that's okay. Maybe more people will know about your podcast and check it out. But it's always great to have you all here. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we love recording with you. It's always fun.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we will. You will eventually see more Fast and Furious content from I don't know. Maybe we'll see if any of the other films have any more class analysis to be had. Maybe when they go to space. I don't know.